All right, everybody. So I have a really great praise report, bit of information, story about how good Jesus is for you all. It's going to require a little bit of backstory that not a lot of people know about, but there are some friends who've known about it. When I was younger, I kind of partied a lot and drank a lot and slept around and had several boyfriends and just didn't think that I was worth very much. And so I didn't really ever protect myself and look after myself. I didn't think I had much value for a lot of reasons and a lot of things. I was just kind of really broken about a lot in life. And I kind of had a time where I just came back to the Lord and walked away from that past life and spent a long time just learning who I was in the Lord and just being really excited about life and falling in love with Jesus, and what he worked in my life was really, really great. So about 5 years ago, I went into the doctor for my annual exam, which I'd been going in for since I was like 18, to have everything checked out, make sure I was doing okay. And at that time, 5 years ago, the doctor told me that I had tested positive for HPV, which for me was really, really shocking because I hadn't had sex since I was like 23 years old. Actually it was just 10 years, I think, at that point when I got checked again and was told that I had HPV. So I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I do not have this. Like, it's impossible. I've been tested every year. I've been going to the doctor every year. Like, it's impossible. So she checked it again, and yes, it came back as positive. And she explained to me at that time that it wasn't uncommon for HPV to stay hidden inside of your body for years and years and years, and you to not be having any symptoms, because the kind that I had was affecting your cervix, could potentially cause cervical cancer. She said it wasn't surprising that I had no symptoms, because what I had most people don't have symptoms for. And then she said that I had to have tests every year more rigorously. I needed to be checked every year for HPV because I was at a higher risk of getting and contracting cervical cancer. And so I needed to be really careful about that. I had to go in and have a biopsy done at one point just to make sure that everything was actually okay. And I was really devastated when I got the news. I just remember thinking right away that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he just did all of that with one test, because all I ever wanted to do when I grew up was be a wife and a mom. That was it. Just a wife and a mom. That was what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. And there was no way in my head and my thinking at the time that I would ever get married and have kids, because I didn't want to pass something like this on to someone. And also, how could somebody choose to be with me and to love me in spite of having this thing, And it was really hard, because I had spent 10 years really thanking the Lord for having looked after me, for having protected me in my brokenness and in my lost seasons, that he looked after me, kept me healthy, and had kept me so safe through it all. And I really celebrated that and was really happy about that. And to have it taken away was just one of the worst things I'd ever experienced in my entire life. I hated it. And I remember when I started dating John, we hadn't been dating for terribly long before I had to tell him, hey, I have this thing and you need to know about it, because it might factor in your decision making of if you want to keep dating me or not. You might choose not to date me anymore. You might not want to be with someone who has this thing because maybe you don't want it. And I cried the whole time I told him about it, and he was really great about it and was like, Laura, that's your past, and yes, it's not the best thing to have, but, we have stuff in life. And he just really responded to it really, really well and really loving and really graciously. And it really, really touched my heart, but I was still just so sad about it. And I remember after we got engaged and got married, I just was so sad to know that for the rest of our lives, I didn't care if I had something, but to know that I was giving him something was incredibly difficult to deal with. And it felt like, here's this past that you have from 10, 11, 12 years ago, and it's now active in your present. And it was hard because that girl I wasn't who I was anymore. It had nothing to do with me anymore. And so to have that be active in my current life was really difficult, really, really hard to kind of wrap my head and heart around. But I was like, it's not who I am anymore. It's just this thing that I have, and it is what it is. And, we'll just walk it out in life. It'll be fine. The Lord will protect me. I'm just going to trust that I won't ever get cervical cancer and believe in him and have faith for that. And so that's what I spent the last 5 years thinking and believing and walking under. And so I went in to my doctor about 3 weeks ago for my annual exam. And I was getting just some general information from her about starting a family. And we started talking about the HPV and what that meant for having a baby. And she was like, it doesn't affect anything. And then she goes, but, she looked at my record. She goes, but, your HPV test from last year was negative. You didn't have it last year. And I was shocked because I had never actually got those results. And so I didn't know that last year's test came back negative. That I had no clue about. And so she was like, yeah, we'll test again. We'll check again. And if it comes back negative again this time, then that's 2 years in a row that it's come back as negative. And that will mean that the HPV is cleared completely out of your system. It's gone. It's completely cleared out. And I was so excited. I was like, I was like, Jesus, did you heal me? And I didn't even know it. Did you heal me? And I didn't know it. And I was so afraid to hope for it in a way because I didn't want to get too excited about it and then have it come back and have that hope dashed. So I hadn't heard anything, and the doctor said it would take, a couple weeks for results to come back, and I wasn't hearing anything. So I sent an email to her yesterday, and I was like, I never got the results from it. Can somebody let me know what they are? And today I got results from the doctor that said everything tested as negative. Everything was a no. You don't have this. You don't have that. And we tested for the HPV. The HPV is totally gone, completely cleared out. It's been gone for 2 tests in a row, for 2 years in a row, which means it's not even an issue in your life anymore. You don't need to worry about it. We'll test again in 3 years because that's the normal thing to do. And I just it is the best thing ever. Because I hated having it. I hated having that be in my life. I hated having it be in John's life. But the thing is if I'm testing negative and we've been married for 2 years, if I'd had it, we'd still be sharing it back and forth. But I don't have it, which means he doesn't have it either. And that's the best news ever. And just the fact that the Lord healed me and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know. I was completely clueless for at least a year that he had healed me of it. And so I just want to tell people, just don't give up faith and don't give up hope in what God can do in your life, because he can take care of some things so quickly, and he can take care of things and you don't even know it, and you don't even have a clue that he did it. And sometimes it's so blatantly obvious. Now I know for sure because it's been 2 years. I know that he healed me. I know that he did it because the doctor told me when I first tested positive that since I had not had sex for 10 years, the fact that it was still there, it was probably always going to be there because if my body hadn't cleared it out in 10 years, it was going to be there. And then 3 years, I tested positive in a row. So for 13 years, it was there and wasn't going anywhere. And the only thing that could have healed me is Jesus. That's it. It's the only answer. It's the only explanation is Jesus. That he completely wiped it out. He completely wiped it clean, and he completely restored everything. And so I'm just so excited about it, and I'm just so thankful about it. And you just have to know, like, don't let the devastating things that come at you be something that tears you apart and destroys you, and never ever give up faith in what God can do in your life, because he can change everything in an instant. In just an instant, he can switch it all for you. He did it for me, and I just want to celebrate that. And everybody should celebrate what he does.